and yes, I just want to kind of go over the opportunity that we're providing in regards to the in-service days that are coming up on October 10th and October 11th. Both days will be, sorry, the location will be at the University of the District of Columbia, the Van Ness campus, and it will be located in the Student Center Ballroom. Eventbrite is already up and registration is available. And within the Eventbrite as well, what I'm going to go over quickly with you today does provide the entire agenda along with recommendations of those attendees that would be relevant to what we're presenting over the course of the next 2 days. Quickly for day one, the morning offerings is all going to be around grant specific components. There's going to be a deep dive around city span, more of a deep dive around the youth voice related to the SAOY. Shanna's going to provide new updates in regards to grant requirements and also some information around financial management. So the morning of day one on October 10th, we highly encourage more of grant administrators and leadership to attend that opportunity. There will be lunch provided during that time as well for folks. And then in the afternoon time, we'll actually be flowing over to more breakout sessions in regards to professional development. And also each day we'll be providing one workshop that actually will meet the requirements from your grant agreements for specifically special populations. So for example, in the afternoon, if folks from the grantees, if they wanted to have more of their front-facing youth providers to attend, feel free to go ahead and register to them for that. All in the same run right now, and I'll explain what we're going to do after that. And there'll be two options for professional development workshops, both on day one and day two. And those are listed on the Eventbrite component. I don't want to bore you with that right now. Day two will really be more specifically around staff working directly with youth and site leaders. So it's going to be very institute heavy. We're going to have, of course, a welcome in the morning, two different breakouts as well in the morning sessions, which one will support the excuse me, the special populations. We'll have a working lunch with discussions to network and get to know each other. And then in the afternoon, the Institute team will be providing more information in regards to the 5 components of a high quality OST program. So when you register, the next step that will occur is that we will be sending out an email thanking you first for registering, of course, but then there will be a more detailed, I think we're going to use a Google form where it will break down much more high level for you to go ahead and choose the workshops specifically. That's going to be really important so we know which room to put the workshops in. And also you can also detail those individual staff members at that time as well. If you Google, I just saw a question that just came in. If you go on Eventbrite and or if you go to your Learn24 All Grantee email, the Eventbrite registration links are there. Or if you go on Eventbrite itself, all you need to do is search for Learn24. And I'll pause there, Shanna, and I don't know, is there more information you'd like me to provide or if there's questions?
Yeah, if there are any questions, I just want to open the floor to grantees right now because Kevin has to jump as he is in a training currently. So if there are any questions about the in-service day, and I'm going to go find that link, specific link as well and put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Shanna.
Oh, but looks like Mark has done that. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And yeah, and we entitled it just so it's not you're not gonna see in service as far as on the Eventbrite. It's called Empower and Elevate 25. We wanted to get a little fancy with the name overall.
And so again, just to recap, the first part of Thursday, the 10th, October 10th, is the administrative nuts and bolts. The city span, data management, financials, updates on compliancy, just nuts and bolts, right? And then we have lunch. The afternoon is more professional development. So you could come as an administrator, if you're an administrator, attend the first part of the day, stay for the second part of the day, or if you need to go back, your program staff can come for the second part of the day if they would like to participate in those professional developments, and or on Thursday when those are all going to be focused on really youth development topics. You can
Hmm.
attend both, but the requirement is that we have someone in the first part, administrative, and then we really encourage you to have as many staff as you're able for program frontline staff come. And we know that those are PD days for DCPS as well. So we really are trying to align it so that you won't have programming. Your program staff can come and participate in these, and you can also meet those requirements for attending a training for the year on supporting students with special needs.
Sorry, could you say the dates one more time? Is it the 10th and 11th of October or 9th and 10th?
October 10th and 11th.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And the Eventbrite with those dates to register is in the chat. Okay, if we do not have any other questions, and if you do, you can always feel free to email the Institute or your grant management specialist. I'm going to pick Kevin's. I think everybody knows Kevin, but if you do not, the Institute for Youth Development, which is our professional development arm, he is the manager of. And so his email is now in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can send him an email.
Hi there. Good morning. I just joined. I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Shanita. Or Shantia, sorry.
Yes. It's okay. You got it. You caught it. Thank you. I was trying to do my progress report over the last 3 days. I keep getting an error message. Did you all cover that this morning?
No, we haven't covered that.
Okay. I keep getting an error message within CitySpan.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a technical issue going on.
We will have questions at the end for just general questions that you may have. But for now, I'm putting the Learn24 data at dc.gov. Email is in the chat. That is who you will reach out to. In fact, that's what we're going to jump into is an overview of CitySpan. There are some changes in CitySpan. Your progress report, of course, is for FY24. We're going to be looking at FY25 cycle today. Mr. Garrison, DeAndre, our data and evaluation manager, is going to walk us through that. And he is also the one who's going to be able to help you with any issues with progress reports. So if you email that learn24data at dc.gov, DeAndre will be able to reach out to you, arrange for a one-on-one meeting, or otherwise support you however that you need.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Okay. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm going to keep us moving because we do want to give DeAndre lots of time to go through Learn24 CitySpan for FY25 with us. DeAndre, are you ready?
Yes. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's see if I can start this up. Okay. Can everybody see me? The screen?
We can see the screen. Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's office hour session, which will be focused on Learn24 grant management system training or CitySpan training. Like Shanna mentioned, I'm DeAndre Garrison. I manage the data evaluation and analysis for the OST office. These office hours are designed to provide grantees with support and guidance on using our system efficiently. During today's session, we'll cover key areas of the grants management process, address any technical issues, and answer questions you may have about the system's functionality. Our goal is to ensure you feel confident navigating the platform so you can focus on achieving program outcomes and meeting compliance requirements. We'll start with a brief overview of the system, and then we can go into a live demonstration, and then finally we can open up the floor for any questions that you guys may have. Okay. So let's go over the OST grantee system compliance requirements. And we have three of those requirements, which are administrative requirements, program requirements, and staff requirements. For administrative requirements, grantees want to make sure that they include FERPA and SAOI consent waivers in student enrollment forms. We want to collect all student IDs for service youth. We want to complete and submit accurate progress reports before the established deadlines. Can we have somebody mute their mic, please? Because it's like a echo. Thank you so much. And we want to submit an amendment request for any fiscal or programmatic changes. For program requirements, we want to complete youth registration for all service youth by October 25th. We want to enter enrollment, activities, and all required data by established deadlines. And we want to enter attendance weekly and maintain those paper copies. For staff requirements, we just want to make sure that we upload background clearance documentation and certifications. Okay. OST maintains and develops Learn24 system modules, including grant agreements, participant registration, attendance, staff compliance, and youth outcome modules. Grantees have access to an organizational profile module. Here, grantees can provide an overview of their organization, including a mission statement. Grantees can enter and track grant information using the grant agreement module. The module has components built in, including budget narratives and program site. Grantees can track progress on grant-specific requirements using the progress report module. Using the information inside of the grants management system, the progress report is generated. Our system allows funded organizations to register participants, manage activities, and document attendance. Grantees have the option of adding and updating participant information manually or by using the developed Upload Data tool. The system includes a data warehouse and reporting portal that CitySpan and OST use to generate reports and dashboards. The data warehouse organizes the data into a unified structure that is optimized for reporting, ad hoc querying, and business intelligence. To register participants and track attendance, you can either upload the information or enter directly into the database. Uploading participants using the data upload tool is not required, but can be easier for organizations with many participants. Grantees can use the attendance module to record attendance for students at their activities. In the grant management system, organizations can generate reports for information entered into the database. For an example, an attendance report. The system provides a staff compliance module for agency administrators to register staff, document employment requirements, and upload supporting documents. We maintain an archive of uploaded compliance documents that we will be reviewing on an annual basis. Grantees will administer a youth program survey, the SAOI. Students have provided we will only provide the SAOI survey for students who have provided the FERPA consent. That's why we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation that it's important that you have that information. And we will provide those survey links to each participant that has provided us with access or with the consent to do so, both SAOI and FERPA. We only require students in fourth grade and above, but allow grantees to administer to younger grades if they would like to. Results from surveys will later be used to develop customized aggregate reports to assess program quality based on youth responses. Only programs with greater than 10 submissions will receive reports. Now, grantees can access all essential resources through our grantee hub site. I'll provide a link in the chat after before I start the live demonstration. Now, this hub site, it includes links to all our weekly office hours. We host office hours every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1, and this is just an opportunity for grantees to hop in and they can have some one-on-one assistance if they have any trouble with navigating our grant management system. This hub site also has a help desk ticketing system that we've just developed for this fiscal year, and also it provides you with a link to our YouTube page that has a number of our tutorial videos for step-by-step guidance. These resources are designed to support you throughout the grant management process and ensure you have the help you need at every step. And before I start the live demonstration, here's just some screenshots of how that service ticket looks. The help desk service ticket process provides an efficient and user-friendly way for grantees and staff to report technical issues related to the grant management system. This platform allows users to easily submit and track service tickets, ensuring timely responses and resolutions. And it also gives our team insights to a few of the common issues so that we can address them accordingly. Okay. So now is the part where I give you guys a live demo of the system now that we've went through this slide deck. So generally when we hop in CitySpan, the first page that we get to is the organization profile. And like I mentioned before, this is just a page where we can put essential information like the address, website address, contact information related to your organization, and just some essential information. Now, where most of the information that you'll be collecting related to your activities and students will be housed within the grants module. Now you'll hit the grants, organization grants tab on the left navigation panel right here, and then we can hop into that individual grant. We're in a sample profile now, so everything will say sample. So where you see sample fiscal year 24-25, we're going to click on that, and then this goes into our grant module. And the first thing that we'll see is the grant agreement. Now, we talked about this during the presentation, but the grant agreement has many components within it, including program description. You'll be able to list your program sites, budget narrative. This is where you and your grant management specialist will work to ensure that you have all of the required information related to your grant agreement. So just really make sure that this information is to your liking. Now, what we can also do, like we talked about before, if you have any programmatic changes, you can do a grant amendment, but you will have to reach out to your grant management specialist to provide some information to explain like why you want to do this, and then we can go ahead and allow for you to do that grant agreement all over again, or an amendment. Okay. So since we talked about the grant agreement, I think the next thing that we need to look at is youth registration. So youth registration is very important, and it has many different components within it, but it's just one process. So we can start with that first. So the first thing that we generally want to do is we want to make sure that we're uploading our participants or our students. Now, we talked about this in the slide deck, but there are two options to this. You can do it individually or manually. We can use this add button right here, and we can go, and it automatically directs us to the lookup participant. We're working on an update now to where we do not have to search for a participant before we are allowed to create one. But right now we do have a lookup tool that make sure that the participant that you're trying to add isn't already in the system, so that we can alleviate duplicated records. So for this example, we're going to put in a name of a student that we know is not in the system, so we do have the opportunity to create a new participant profile. So I'm just going to put in a participant that I know is not in there. and we're going to search. So now, since we have seen that this participant has no matching records, we have the prompt to go ahead and create a new participant. So this allows for us to add youth. So we have the student's first name, which is 0, and we can just, give them any last name that we want, birth date, that we want, street address. We can give them the ward, race, gender. And now, since this information has been entered, we can go ahead and add the student. Now, once that student has been added, we then have to complete the youth registration process. So if we were to go back, we can see that just because the student was added in, that doesn't mean that this student has a registered that student has completed registration. So this is really important. And if a student does not have a completed registration, you later on can't enroll them into activities that you've created. So you need to make sure that you go into the profile once you've created it and you filled in all this essential information, including the school name. You're giving us consent for FERPA. You're giving us COY consent information. Like this that is essential, all the information that have these red asterisks on the side of them. And one more important thing is, please reach out to the parents, reach out to the schools so that we can get the student ID numbers. This is really important for us so that we can track students. And when you do not provide us with this information, it is incredibly hard for us to match students with other agencies so that we can pull information related to their any other data that we want to get from any other agency. So please try to make an effort to do that. So once a student has been registered, I won't go through and complete this process. I'll go through a student that has already been submitted just so that we can see how it looks. So this student has been submitted. He has completed registration. And now this would allow for us to go ahead and enroll this student into activities. So in order to create activities, what you need to do is you want to go to the sites on the left-hand panel. You want to go into the location name that you've highlighted within the grant agreement. All this information is within the grant agreement. So where program sites are, where you've listed your program site, these are the sites that will be populated here. Once we're in the site location, we can go ahead and we can create an activity. Here are a number of activities that we have already created, but just for this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and create some activities or just one. So let's go ahead and add one. So we're going to name this track. We have a primary focus area, which is, let's say, enrichment. And then we want to highlight our focus area. So you want to select at least one, but a max of 3 focus areas for each individual focus area. So we can go down to our focus area, which is enrichment. And for that, we'll go ahead and select sports and recreation since it is a track. And then since we have up to 3, we can select up to 3. So academics, and we do not have to select only within our focus area, but you do want to select at least one within the focus area. So along with athletics, we do help with homework. So we can, select homework help as well. So, and then we can just list the number of participants. And in this case, we're going to have eight participants. And then we can save and we can return. So now since that's created, we go back into this track activity that we've created. And now we can go ahead and we can create a schedule. So we need to go in here and depending on when we meet, we have the options to create either a single date or multiple date. And for our track team, we meet every Tuesday and Thursday. So we want to select Tuesdays and Thursday. And we're starting October 1st. And we're going to end the third week of December on a Friday. So we meet after school from 4:30 to 6. And this is going to be important because this is going to populate our schedule. So just give me a moment to finish this up. 4:30 to 6. This is 6 a.m. Sorry about that. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Then we're going to go ahead and add those dates. Tuesday's Thursday. All right. So now we have our schedule populated. Now remember, we have to do attendance weekly, but we'll get into attendance once we've enrolled youth. So now since we have the schedule, we need to put some students into here. So like I mentioned before, we've already imported students. We've completed youth registration. Now we can go ahead and we can enroll youth. So let's go ahead and enroll. So we can show all students. And you will see that it will not allow for you to submit or to enroll youth into activities until they have a submitted youth registration. So what we'll have to go do now is we'll have to go back and we'll have to find one of these students and we'll have to enroll him or register him for this fiscal year. So let's go ahead and do this while we're here. And let's go ahead and save this. Okay, submit. Okay, so this student has been submitted. So let's go back to our created activity, track, enrollment. You want to enroll, you want to show all. And you see that this is the only student that you can enroll because this is the only student that has a completed youth registration for this fiscal year. So this is why this is really important. So now since we've selected the student, we can go down and we can enroll. All right, so he's going to be enrolled on the 1st of October. So that's the enroll date. All right, so let's go back, general information. So we're still inside of this activity. We've created a schedule. We've enrolled one of the students into it. So now let's pretend that it's October 1st and we want to do attendance. So let's go to attendance. And then you want to select this drop down and you want to hit all dates. Now we'll see all of the dates that we've created for this activity, and you can see how many students are enrolled. We only have one student that's enrolled right now. So let's go into October 1st. And now we can determine whether or not the student was present or absent. So we're just going to pretend like it's October 1st, and we're going to say he's present, and then we can save it, and then we can return. So now you see that attendance has been done for this date. So we went over creating activities. We went over youth registration, importing youth into the system. Now what we can look at is COI. Now, since we have given COI consent for this student, we have a COI link. Only students in the participants drop down or the youth registration that has provided us with COI consent. You see the student has provided us with COI consent. This is why they have a link. Will receive a link. So that's really important to provide us with consent to be able to do that. Now we'll just take this link. We can right click it and we can go to the survey. The first thing that you'll see is you want to acknowledge whether or not you're the student. So in this case, we're going to say yes, and we're going to hit next. And this allows for us to go into the COI survey. On the right-hand side, you can toggle what language you would like. We have many different language options. So you can select which one fits your student. And we don't have many questions, so it shouldn't take that long to fill out. But we want to make sure that every student has the opportunity to do this. Fourth grade and up, those are the students that we require. But if you would like for students that are below the age of fourth, I mean, below the grade fourth, then you can do that. And then with the responses from this survey, we develop aggregate reports for individual grantees, and we send out those reports that analyze the responses so that you can see what the students feel. So let's go back to our system. And so we've taken a look at COI. We can look at the upload tool now. So for this demonstration, I've went ahead and created some sample spreadsheets so that we can get a demonstration of this upload tool. Give me a moment to pull this up. Okay. All right. So in the upload tool, we have two options. You can do a participant upload or you can do an attendance upload. Like I mentioned before, for grantees that have multiple students that they want to put in at once and they don't want to do it individually, you can use this tool. What you'll do is you'll grab the template right here and then you'll download it and then you'll fill it out so that you can import it into the system. But since I've already created this for us, I'll just go ahead and use the one that I've created and I can show you how that looks right now. So let's open it up. So here's this. Oh, I'm sorry, what's wrong with this attendance? So here's this template that has been filled out. So the participant upload template that we have, we are only requiring that these four highlighted are entered in order to be able to use the upload tool. The rest of the stuff you can populate once you actually get the student into the system, but these four have to be included. The city span person ID will be automatically generated by the database, but the participant ID will be provided by each grantee. I'm not sure whether or not you guys have record management systems where you've provided a unique identifier for each individual student, but this is where you would put those values. So for this example, we're going to import three students, Malcolm, Henry, and Colin. We've provided their last name, the date of birth, and we have symbolized whether or not they are active or inactive, and they're active. So in the reverse, if you wanted to inactivate multiple students at once, you have the opportunity to do that here. So you can add those lists of students and then you can toggle whether or not you want to make them inactive. But just for this particular exercise, we're going to import these three students. I provided their street address, city, and some address information. And like I mentioned before, this information isn't required, but these four columns are required in order for this to work. So we're going to save this and then we have to close it. In order for the data upload tool to run, we have to close the spreadsheet that we're working in. So we want to select the type, which is participant upload. You want to go into the location, participant, and then we want to begin the upload. So let's go ahead. Okay, so now it's saying that this information is missing. Now this you may have some errors that pop up, and in this particular situation, you can just read through these errors, and they are pretty self-explanatory. But in the event that you do have some errors that you cannot figure out, please feel free to reach out to the data team at that email that's provided in the chat. So we're going to take a look at these errors just so that, I can help you guys walk through this process. So let's go ahead. And first off, let's see if it's been looked in because I believe that is already in here. Okay, yeah, so they're not added into there. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, cool. So let's go back into that folder. Okay. Okay, go back into the upload. Okay. All right. Okay. And let's just try to put that in back in. All right. Okay. All right. So upload. Okay. All right. Let's go to- And then after we look at that, then the next thing that we can look at, we can wrap things up, is looking at the staff module. And then we can open up for questions. So let's go ahead and
Do we have any questions of DeAndre on this? And
yes.
thank
While
you,
I'm wrapping this,
DeAndre.
I have a question. So if the students are already on our list, can we just upload them to their just change out the sale forms and the verbal forms because we won't be uploading them again. Am I correct?
Yes, that's a very good question, Kelly. All the students should be rolled over, and you should be able to just search them and add them. DeAndre, can you provide additional detail on that? Because all of our grantees are in continuation and should have or may have returning students.
Yes, that's actually a really good question. So like you mentioned before, all of the students that you have within the system already are going to be rolled over. But like the example that I showed before, you will have to go in and you'll have to just complete the youth registration for this fiscal year, the same way that we had to do for this student. This student was already in here, but we had to go in and we just had to save the information just to make sure that none of the information had changed for this fiscal year. So for an example, we have Susan Adams. This student is already uh, this our student was already kind of put into the system the previous fiscal year, but since this is a new fiscal year, we want to make sure that we update all of the information. So you see that the COI consent, it no longer says 23, 24. This is for 24, 25. So you want to acknowledge for 24, 25. Yes, you want to make sure that the school information is the same, or if it's changed, you want to go ahead and put that, you want to update that information. So to answer your question, the students will roll over, but you'll have to update the information for this fiscal year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Um, so do we have any more questions about the participants before I move over to the staff module?
DeAndre, I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna ask one quick question. It's about the SAO students. Oh, in our, I guess you guys may have just answered the question that I may need assistance with, because in my SAO tab, there are no participants listed, and it could be because I need to pretty much do the do
Yes.
what you just said to go translate, so that makes sense. That is perfect. So now on under the sites, and so we have been in correspondence with our grant manager too about this. So in the sites for 25, 24, 25, it needs to be adjusted, the name. So instead of us per se like maybe having three sites or activity sites in the system, we only need two for physical 25, right? And so in that interim, how will we go about that? Do we do the adjustments? I try to look into it, and everything is pretty much auto-populated for 25 to go all the way through 2025. But one of the sites that's listed, we no longer need that as a site. So what would need to be happen? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is this needs to be a change that needs to be adjusted within the grant agreement. It
No,
seems
no,
that
no,
you
no.
may.
Uh-huh.
Did you
Oh,
wait? I'm sorry to interrupt.
it's
Larice,
okay.
did you have it in the 24-25 grant agreement? Did you have it listed as a
Yes.
site? You did.
Yes, and so it pretty much ended already. So I looked at the dates that was portrayed, and so of course the summer is when it pretty much ended, and so now it's still auto-populating through to carry over through the next school year, to which we don't need that, as of
Okay.
right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to say this for everyone. If
Yeah.
you have sites showing up that you have
Yeah.
changed from 23-24 to your 24-25 agreement, you're no longer at that site. We have spoke to CitySpan because it seems
Yeah.
like it's rolling over in the sites, 23-24 sites that are no longer
Ah.
valid. So they
Yeah.
are going to update
Mm-hmm.
that to make it year specific. So you should only see 24-25 sites. However, if you
Oh.
have in your 24-25 agreement a site that you have since determined will no longer work for your program, then that would have to be a grant amendment. And we will talk about that in just a second, how you go about
Okay.
amending.
See,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I got
No,
ahead there. I'm
no,
so sorry.
please don't. That was a great question because that is a question others have had. Shantia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, and you guys might have just covered it. We were wondering when we would be able to see the 24-25 information within City Span, because right now I'm only seeing the information from last school year, and I don't see the new grant agreement or
You
anything
should
like
be
that.
able to. You just need to go up. DeAndre, do you want, can you demonstrate? There's a cycle. I know ours looks a little different on our end, but you have to click on the 24-25 OST cycle that's at the top of the
Mhm.
screen. Otherwise, you're going to be in 23-24. See there that drop down. These are all the different cycles. You may only see the ones for which you have a grant, but you're going to choose 24-25 OST.
Thank
And
you
then
so
if you
much. I'll
go,
definitely try that. Yes.
yeah, then once you go into your grants, then you'll see your grant agreement there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Sylvia, you have a question.
Yes, ma'am. I just had a quick question. So, two things. I hopped on late because I was in a meeting. Is this recorded where we could access it after the fact, just so that I didn't
Yes.
miss the beginning? I don't want to ask a question that you guys have already covered. And then secondly is, I know last year, like you said, with the returning, we basically have to resubmit them into the new year. Does that need
Yes.
to be done prior to October 1st or on October 1st, or is there a due date for that? And like moving the staff over and doing all that, is there like a time frame that should be done?
So great question, Sylvia. Staff should be uploaded and background cleared prior to working with youth, right? So we
Okay,
ask you
right.
to go ahead and,
Yep.
be working on that and
Okay.
having that done. Your student participation should be completed within 20 days of programming.
Perfect. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. And we have a question in the chat. Will we be going deeper into the process of how to submit the request for lower dosage hours? Yes, we're going to talk about the amendment process in just a second. I want DeAndre to be able to get through the city span overview, and then we'll talk about amendments.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, amendments. This is the section where we would do the amendments. Is within the grant agreement. I'm not sure if, Shannon, you want to go into like deeper, like a deeper explanation of this, but I can give a brief overview of it before I finalize, I guess my demonstration for today. So we went over the youth registration process for the participants. Like I mentioned before, this is a reoccurring question that we're having. I'm seeing participants will roll over from the previous fiscal year, but it is important that grantees go in and update that information, update address information, update school information. We can't guarantee that students are in the same school from the previous year. So this is why we need to make sure that that information is current with this current fiscal year. COI, the same thing. You want to go in and you want to make sure that you've given us consent for this fiscal year. You may have given us consent for last fiscal year, but we don't want to take it for granted that that is provided for this fiscal year. So for each and every grantee, I mean for each and every grantee and every student that you register, that will need to be updated for this fiscal year. So I just want to get that understood right now. So we went through the youth registration process. We went through creating activities at the site level, doing attendance, creating those activities, enrolling youth. Only youth that have completed youth registrations will be allowed to be enrolled. Created schedules, enrolled attendance, use the data upload tool. We went through COI. We discussed that only students that have provided us with the COI consent in the youth registration will be administered a COI link. In order to be able to do that, in order to be able to complete the COI, you will just highlight this link and you want to right click and open it on another tab, and that gives you access to it. Once you've acknowledged that you're that student, then you can complete the COI. We also went through the rules or like the policies around the COI, fourth grade and above, but we do allow for grades below fourth grade to be administered, but we require those in fourth grade and above. Grantees with 10 and above submissions will receive individual reports based off of their survey submissions. And, that's it for COI. Let's look at the progress report. Now, progress reports is for each individual quarter. We'll have progress reports. You can see them here on the left-hand panel. You click on progress reports, and then once you click on the highlighted link, then this allows for you to go into the progress report. This tracks all of the compliance metrics for each individual grantee related to youth enrollment, program attendance, the days, hours of service, weekly attendance rate by site, and progress narrative. We can look at all of this information on the progress report. Now, one thing about the progress report is it's really important that we are making sure that records are being entered into the system in a timely manner, because in the event that you submit information after the fact, it may be a lapse on when you receive your progress report. If you submit quarter one's records in Q3, then of course you will not have a progress report for Q1 because you've waited so long to do that. So it's really important that you're staying on top of your records management. You're staying on top of attendance. Like we mentioned before, attendance needs to be done weekly. You need to be enrolling youth. And then while we're on that subject, many grantees, I'm noticing, they do not have user accounts for their staff members. And let me show you how you can go ahead and create that. So you can go into
DeAndre, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, before you move from this page, and I do want to give us a time check that if you can wrap up in 5 minutes, so then I can speak quickly to the amendment. I do want to say that, just as a reminder, progress reports are only twice this year. So your first progress report won't be due until mid-year, which will be in January, or after the end of the second quarter, and then again at the end of the year. Now, if you're a year-round, you will also have a summer progress report. But just so you know, they are not quarterly. They're twice a year. We wanted to take some of that burden off of you all to have to complete those quarterly. I wanted to also state that these are live. So you can go into even though it won't be due until, mid-year, you can go in at any time and track, see as like a dashboard how you're doing. So I just wanted to point those out. Go ahead, DeAndre.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that's really important. That was an update that we've made for this fiscal year. And in regards to being provided with additional user accounts for your staff members, you can just send the data department an email at learn24data@dc.gov, and we can assist you with creating user accounts for your staff members. This is really helpful if you need your program staff to complete attendance so that you don't have to do it, just so that we can make sure that attendance and different records related to that gets imported regularly.
And
The final thing.
DeAndre, can I also, I'm sorry, real quick, make a point that if you have, you need to, can you show them where the organization users link is right there on the left side, right under organization staff is your organization users. We encourage all of you to go in and take a look and see who your users are. If you have folks that are no longer working with your organization, they can still log in through CitySpan and access student data. So it is very important, especially as it relates to FERPA laws, et cetera, that you deactivate any staff that should no longer have access or be users in CitySpan. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's a great point, Shanna. We do not want for staff members that were previously members of an organization and no longer work there to be able to access that. So to Shanna's point, what you can do is on the left-hand panel, go into organization users, you find the users on the role, you can hit the drop down and you can make them inactive. And once you've made them inactive, they can no longer log into this portal. And we do not want them to be accessing records that they shouldn't have access to. So it's really important. Or if you would like for us to do it, you can just send an email to us and we can make sure that that gets taken care of. And speaking of staff members, the final thing that I want to go over is the organization staff compliance module.
And
This
just
is
to point out, this is no longer, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting, but I want to
no, it's fine.
update grantees. As you will notice, this is no longer under, there is no longer a staff module under your grants. It didn't make sense for it to be there. We moved it. So when you click on grants, you only see your grant. But if you're looking for that staff module, it has been renamed as organization staff and is now in the left-hand navigation menu, which is what DeAndre is now demonstrating.
Yes, yes. To that point, that is a change and update that we made to the system this fiscal year. It was previously housed within organization grants, and to Shanna's point, we've come to a decision that it didn't need to be there. So we've put it on the left-hand side, where it's entitled Organization Staff. So once we've clicked there, this is similar to the participant profiles that we have. I'm trying to see what's in the chat. Okay, but never mind. You can click on the individual staff members that have been populated so that we can put the background documentation, clearances, you name it. But before we do that, I can show you how to create one. You can go to the add button up here, and you can just have that person's first and last name, date of birth, and then you can add that person in, and then it goes into the profile. You can symbolize whether or not this employer is paid or volunteer. And then right here, we have the selection where it wants to know, do you have one of the clearances, DCHR, DCPS, or OSSI? And you can symbolize whether or not you do or you do not have either of these clearances.
And this is an important new question, folks. This is where you're going to be able to be prompted to upload the clearances. That question wasn't there before. If you recall, there was a whole list of all the different types of clearances, which was confusing. Folks were going in and putting the same clearance over and over. It just wasn't intuitive. So this question, if you have one of these type of clearances, a DCPS, a OSSI, a federal security, or a DCHR, it covers the three requirements of FPI, MPD, and NSO. So when you say, yes, I have one of these, it's going to say, okay, tell us which type and upload it. You only have to upload one document. Now, if you say no, then it's going to give you the option to, as you can see here, upload the individual FBI, MPD, and NSO if you do go the route of doing individual checks of all those three. So we're trying to make it a little more user friendly there. So that is the difference that you will see here in this staff module.
Yes. So, those are important changes that we've made. So to Shanna's point, you can just toggle between whether or not you do have either one of those clearances or you don't. And to her point, if you do, you can then select and upload that information there. And then below that, you have a option to let us know any of the certifications that you have, mandated reporter, your first aid CPR certification, and you can acknowledge whether or not this employee either has or does not have these clearances. And if they do, then you have the option to upload that information there. And then we have some archive clearances information
So
here.
all of the clearances from previous year, like last year, that are current or not, have been archived here. As we rolled over the new system, we wanted you to still be able to access previous or current background clearances. So that's what's below in the archive. We are also automating this so that you will receive an alert 30 days before an affidavit is due and 30 days before a new background clearance is due on any staff. If your staff is no longer with you, you will want to make them inactive so you do not receive those emails. So again, just going back to the main page and seeing the organization staff list, you can see if they're expired, if they're no longer with the organization, make them inactive. If a new clearance is needed, you will receive that email and you can go in, indicate which type you have, and upload it. I know we're running short on time. We will be going through this again in the in-service. This today is optional, and we wanted to provide this for organizations that are starting their programming before the in-service. But you can always come to the tech support office hours, as DeAndre said, are every Tuesday and Thursday, and we will be going through a city span overview and have more time for questions, and that will have given you some time to have worked in the staff module and enrolling your students so you can come with questions. As a reminder, we do encourage you to bring your laptop on that first day of in-service so you can walk along through it as well. Now, we have 1 minute, and I want to give you information on the amendment process, which I know some of you are waiting to hear. If you can look into the grants, thank you. When you go into your organization grant, you will see a page that looks like, can you click on version 1? Okay, so you have your grant agreement. At the very bottom, you see a button that says Generate Grant Amendment. You no longer see this button. We see this button. So really, that is the big distinction that I want to share with you. If you want to generate an amendment, all you need to do is to initiate that process, whether it's for a waiver of dosage or just a general, you need, to update site information, budget information, etc. You need to send your grant management specialist an email saying that you would like to request an amendment and why. You don't have to give an incredible detailed justification. You're going to have to provide a detailed justification when you actually complete the amendment, but you want to tell them why. If it makes sense, then we may ask questions. If not, we're going to go in there and we are going to generate it. If any of you generated an amendment on accident last year, or you did it during progress report process, you knew you couldn't access you found out that you then couldn't access your progress report because there was this open change to your agreement, that's what we're trying to prevent. So you have to send an email to your grant management specialist saying, hey, I'd like to amend my grant agreement for these reasons. We'll say, great, we'll go in and we will click on Generate Grant Agreement. And what that does is open a second version of your grant agreement, and it will unlock all of the forms that you see. If you don't have any changes on that form, you'll be prompted to say, have I made changes to program description? If it's no, just say no and hit submit. You'll have to submit each form again. And we are opening each form. Last year with an amendment, if you did it, it was just program sites and program budget. This year, If you need to make changes to your program description, your objectives, anything, that you want to detail in there, you can now do that. But then if you say yes, that you made a change, that's where you'll be asked to justify why you made those changes. You'll hit submit, you'll go back in, you'll sign off, and you'll send it to us. One big important thing that I need you to understand is that if you are requesting a waiver to your dosage, and I'll remind us what that is. If you believe that your organization should be serving less than the minimum youth that is required, which is 50 youth, 60 youth, I believe, if you serve if you receive over $100,000, it's a minimum of 60. It's a minimum of 50 otherwise, or if you're a small nonprofit, it's a minimum of 15. If you are requesting less than that, that's a waiver, a dosage waiver, or an enrollment waiver, I should say. If you're requesting to serve less than the minimum hours, which is 6 hours a week for a series or 8 hours a week for continuous, that is a dosage waiver. You're just going to send an email, the same email you would send to your grants management specialist requesting amendment and saying, I am also requesting a waiver to have less than the minimum number of hours or less than the minimum number of youth, etc. The reason we need you to say that is because there is logic built in that requires you to meet those minimum. We will then have to request for CitySpan on the back end to override that logic to allow you to go below the minimum. Once we do that, we will open up the amendment and allow you to go in and provide your justification. As a reminder, we want you to use your FY24 data. We'll also, look at it, but we want you in your justification to tell us what you were able to do in FY24. Were you able to meet those hours or not? Were you able to meet those youth or not? And why? You can also provide other rationale for why you want to request that waiver that backs up your case. As long as you have a solid justification, we will approve that, but you need to really provide that detail. So I want to I'll stay on. If folks need to drop, please do so. We are going to send out a recording of today's meeting. You can email me or your grants management specialist with any questions you have related to this. But if you have questions now, I am happy to stay on and answer any questions you have. Otherwise, if you have to go, thank you so much for being with us today. Sylvia.
Quick question. So we did an addendum last year to update the dosage. Would that be reflected in the new continuation, or will I need a new addendum for the new year as well? Because I would assume that would have adapted to the new dosage in general.
It would. What would happen with the FY24-25 when you went into that grant agreement? What rolled over was the final version of FY24. So if you had amended it, it rolled over.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. This was so helpful. I can't say that enough. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, well, wonderful. We're happy to be helpful. Kelly.
Shannon, I have a question. If you decrease your hours, does that decrease your budget as well?
No.
Okay.
No. As long as you make a solid justification for it and demonstrate that you were not able to meet those, you're attempted to meet that in FY24 or and we're not able to, or have really other solid justification for why you need to go below those minimum hours. An example is if you're working with high school students, we do know that the minimum can be difficult as they have a lot of competing other priorities. And so you could use, information around that or information from the school, the families you've received, et cetera, around why you would want to decrease your dosage. It will not impact your budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. Natalie.
Good morning. Thank you both so much for this presentation. This was super helpful. So I have a quick question about the last amendments part that you all were talking through. We are thinking of generating an amendment to update our measurable outcomes, those that would have carried over from last year's application to this year, kind of twofold, just so it makes it kind of easier and more up to date to be reporting on in those quarterly reports. And also because we want to make some tweaks to them as we've talked throughout the year. I just want to make sure that that's kind of a reasonable and like an appropriate reason to generate an amendment. I just want to go through the process if it's not something that's helpful or
No,
needed.
that's a great question, Natalie. I would just like to point out that with the program outcomes, yes, you can go in and make changes this year to your objectives. And we did have questions last year where we didn't unlock the program description for the first year. And the second year, we are allowing that. You can go in. The reason that it would make sense to do that, and you can consider whether it makes sense for your organization, is that it rolls over into the progress reports and you have to indicate whether you're meeting those outcomes or not. Now, we do not dictate what those outcomes should be. We do believe that you know best what outcomes you're seeking for your programming. And so as you're looking to track and measure that and then share that information with us so that we can see how you're doing with your own internal goals, that is a reason that you would maybe want to update it. However, if the tweak is not so much that it's really going to make a difference to your own internal tracking or what you plan to share with us, that's where you would have to make the determination. It's not a difficult process. We unlock it, you go in, you make the changes, you explain why, and you submit. And then that's your new version of your grant that then will be automatically emailed to you.
Wonderful. That's helpful. And exactly as you said, that's exactly the reasons that we're thinking. So, okay, we'll go ahead and move forward with that, knowing that information. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Any other questions?
Do we have any questions related to the grant management system, youth registration, the data upload tool, COI, creating
Kelly has a
activities?
question, DeAndre.
Okay.
I just want, and you're going to be sending this presentation out to everyone.
Yes, we're going to send
Okay.
out the presentation that DeAndre shared as well as the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Okay, everyone. Well, I'm going to call the meeting then. Again, follow up with your grants management specialist if you have any specific questions you need help with. Thank you for being here. We appreciate everything that you do and are here to support you. And cheers to a new school year.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your
Thank
day.
you.
Have a good day. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.